Welcome to the BookEnds YouTube channel, the social distancing edition, which means I'm by myself, Jessica Faust, introducing myself. James, who's usually with me, is safe at home working. You'll see videos every week that the two of us filmed. We made sure to film a number before we closed the offices, so you will still be seeing him. But in the interim, you're going to get me all by myself. About a week or so ago, I made a video and actually posted a blog post about querying in the time of COVID-19 or coronavirus. And I was getting a lot of questions from authors about whether or not they should be querying during this time and whether or not agents are open to queries. My answer at that time was yes, and that holds. I think that it's important to keep moving. Publishing needs to keep moving. Bookstores need to keep selling. Authors need to keep writing. As far as we are concerned at BookEnds, we are still taking on new clients. We are still reading submissions. Most importantly, we're still selling books and publishing authors. So that is the exciting part. Today, I want to dig a little deeper and talk about publishing in the time of COVID-19. I want to talk about the industry as a whole. What I'm going to tell you is the information you're going to hear in this video is probably going to change by the time James gets it up onto YouTube and running. That's how quickly things are changing, not just in publishing, but in the world. So I'm going to give you today's version as best I can. As I'm sure you know, just like in most other industries, publishing is working from home. This has been going on for, I believe we are in our third week. It is April 2nd today. I believe we are in our third week of most of publishing working from home. We are not, believe it or not, essential employees. In fact, in some cases, they sent everybody to work at home. And I know in some cases, some of the publishers have completely locked down the offices. So you can't get in if you tried. So hopefully everybody brought their plants home. So that is one major change. And that is going to upend everything across the board a bit. You know, meetings are different when a lot of these publishers have never used things like Zoom or these other remote access tools. So they are learning and doing them all together. But it's happening. I'm happy to report that in March, BookEnds is continuing to sell, make just as many deals as we have done in January and February. So things are moving along. There are some things, though, that we're all struggling with. I think it's understandable and fair to say that some of the smaller publishers are struggling the most right now, and at this time, making the most extreme decisions, which includes furloughing some employees. Hopefully, that'll be able to change quickly and they'll be able to get back to work, but that is definitely happening. Release dates. Most of the big five are trying hard to hold on to the release dates they set. What I mean by that is a release date is the day your book is scheduled to release. Those are usually scheduled at least a year, sometimes farther out ahead of time. If I sell a book today, let's say I negotiate a contract today for 3 books. Those 3 books are all going to be scheduled. They're all going to have a scheduled release date. The first book will probably be scheduled about a year from the time the manuscript is due. So if the manuscript is submitted on a full manuscript, then I can guesstimate that that book will be published in April 2021. The second book will be scheduled about a year out from its delivery date. That could be April 2022, and so on. So those release dates are set far ahead of time. It's difficult to move them. It's difficult to make the decision to not publish that book or any books, let's say this month or next month. So most of the big five are sticking to the release dates. I will say that that could change. It might change for certain books. It might change for certain reasons. I think the struggle is we don't know what's going to happen or when we're going to be back. The world is in a terrible situation, and that's putting it mildly. So moving out a release date can be tricky because we don't know if in 2 or 3 months everything's going to be back to normal. A lot of people have lost jobs. Financially, we're in difficult times. We don't know that even if we move the book, if that's going to really the market is going to be boosted in a way that's going to make a difference. And I think for that reason, a lot of publishers are choosing to stick to the release dates they had scheduled. The other problem is the minute you start moving things around, you have to start moving other things around, and it's a bit of a domino effect. Smaller publishers with smaller lists have made more shifts. We have had a number of clients who've had release dates moved out. Some have been given a new date. Some of them are still tentative of, spring books. The books that are supposed to publish right now are potentially moving to fall books to spring, and so on and so forth. We are in a bit of a holding pattern about this. And my personal opinion is there's no wrong decision. We're all in new territory. We're all making guesstimates, and we're all doing the best we can. So I support the moving of release dates. I get why publishers are doing it. I also support those who are making the decision not to and go forward as planned. We just don't know. We have seen some changes in contracts from publishers. There is a clause in the contract, force majeure, which most publishers have, which means that should a catastrophic event happen, they are allowed the ability to move out publication of the book in accordance with the time lost during that event. We're in that right now. War would be something like that. September 11th was something like that. So that's where we are. That allows us the shift in release dates, but that is also something contractually that is coming up. Another thing we're seeing is publishers are understandably seeing and expecting a slowdown in book sales, which is going to impact income, not just for the publishers, but for the authors, for all of us, frankly, because if the authors see a slowdown in income, agents do. Agents, as a reminder to previous videos, work on commission. We don't get paid until the author gets paid. The more an author gets paid, the more we get paid. And of course, the less an author gets paid, the less we get paid. For that reason, some publishers have made the decision to change their payouts. So let me explain what a payout is. When you sign a contract, and I'm going to discuss sort of traditional publishing at this point, smaller publishers can be different types of publishers can be different, but the standard is that you would receive an advance. Let's say your advance is $10,000. I'm just picking a nice, round, easy to break down number for me. That $10,000 is going to be split into payouts. You might receive $5,000 upon signing the contract, and you may receive the final $5,000 upon the delivery and acceptance of the book. Delivery and acceptance means once your revisions are done. You deliver the book, it isn't accepted until you and your editor have completed revisions. So that would be how that $10,000 is breaking down. Because of a shortfall in incoming money, publishers are trying to stretch that out. They might be doing it on signing, plus on delivery and acceptance, plus on a pub. They might even try to do it 6 months after pub. And pub, I mean publication. So you would receive, let's say, $2,000 on signing the contract. Let's say $3,000. $3,000 on delivery and acceptance of the manuscript. $3,000 that would be put through the day your book is published. And then you might receive an additional $1,000 6 months or a year after the publication of that book. It's a difficult thing for authors to take. And I don't mean anything against the author. If you're only making $10,000 for a book it takes you a year to write, that's not a lot of money. That $10,000 is being broken down over the course of potentially 2 years, maybe longer. It's very difficult. Again, I understand why publishers are doing it. It's a change we're seeing. It's something I think every agent is going to try to battle, but it is something that, based on the situation we're all in now, we are seeing. Genres. I think it's obvious to say that the kinds of books most of us are looking for may be shifting a little based on what's happening. And I think that's normal. When you think about yourself as a reader, you may be looking for different kinds of books. You may be looking for lighter books. Maybe you're looking for something funny. I was just talking to somebody about a book I was reading, and They said, oh, I don't feel like I can handle that subject matter at this time. Understandable. If you've written or are writing a pandemic book, I think you're going to have a difficult time selling it. Unless you can unless you can write a different take on it than the obvious pandemic happens, wipes out half the population, and this is what's left. That's going to be a difficult sell right now. Anything that is too true to life as it's happening when we're going through difficult times is always going to be hard to sell in the moment. My advice to you is, if you are in the middle of writing your epic pandemic book, maybe you want to put it aside and find something else at this moment. It doesn't mean a year from now that book won't be more viable. I just think you're going to add extra difficulty to finding an agent or a publisher, something that's already a little difficult. I have seen, however, a lot of editors and agents sort of looking for a lighter version of the pandemic book. Things like people falling in love in isolation. For me, what about a women's fiction? Well, there was a book out 2 years ago, 7 Days. I think it had more to the title than that, and I should have written it down, but I didn't. About a family in quarantine. The daughter had come back from working in a pandemic area in Africa, I believe, and the whole family was put into quarantine for 7 days. I loved the concept. It was women's fiction, upmarket fiction, and I would still love a book like that. I think the family dynamics of what happens when you are forced to be together, there's a lot you could do with something like that. So that, to me, is a book that I would like to see, because it's less about the pandemic and the dark side of the illness, and it's more of a women's fiction novel with an interesting sense of timing and place. I've seen a lot of romance lovers and even young adult people seeking that, maybe two people living in adjoining apartments who fall in love yet never meet, or things like that I think bring a positive, uplifting side to the situation that we're all experiencing right now. So I'm sure there's more. I am sure when I go back to my desk in 10 minutes that I'm going to learn about a lot more that's happening in publishing and things that are changing. There's not a lot we can do right now. I think that we are all working hard. Buying books, especially from indie bookstores, is a great way to help out. But keep writing, because what we all want right now are the books that are going to help us escape from reality, really. And a reminder that we are selling. We are selling books, and editors are buying books, and we are reading queries, and we are taking on new clients. In fact, last month for BookEnds was a fantastic month. We are continuing to move forward with the attitude that this is going to be over, and we will be business as usual in this new world, whatever that will be. So there's a lot we can't control right now, but what we can control are the books we're writing, the books we're representing, and the work we're doing. And we're going to keep doing that on this end. So please subscribe. There's going to be more coming. There's going to be more videos with James, as well as more by myself. Like the video. If there's something you would like to see me do on my own, please comment below and let us know. Otherwise, as soon as James is back, we'll be catching up on the videos we do best together. And we'll see you back here. Hang in there, stay well, keep writing. Thanks for coming.